What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the after credit scene. We're talking forecast and prediction for episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. Whole lot of things to get into and a whole lot of speculations as things really exploded after episode 3. There's a whole lot of directions that this could go, but we're going to kind of hone in on it and talk about some of the Easter eggs and the different theories that might be coming up in episodes 4 and moving forward. As always, like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so when we drop new content, you'll be the first one to know about it, and then share this video all across the multiverse. So, like I said, last episode ended with quite a bang, no pun intended, but a whole bunch of things that's going to lead to. This Punisher undercurrent, this idea with the graffiti and with the tattoos and all these different things that really lend themselves to the police taking on this mantle of their own type of vigilanteism, using the Punisher's behavior and his past to be able to justify the things that they're doing as the police, is going to trigger a whole lot of different things. You even saw a graffiti in episode 3 with a Punisher logo that said "triggered." You have people trying to take lessons from the vigilantes that aren't really the lessons they should be taking. Police feeling like they can do the same things that the vigilantes do, and trying to find that line. And everybody, the whole theory, the whole undercurrent of every character right now, and arguably the series as a whole, is this idea of who you are underneath and the decisions you make and how they define you. And so Fisk is dealing with that, Matt's dealing with that, his Daredevil alter ego is dealing with that, and even the conversations he has in the courtroom in episode 3 really lend themselves to how he's wrestling with that. Hector seems to have figured that out, and Frank Castle is going to have to kind of talk about where he comes down on that line too. And so I think the big question after episode 3 is, was the guy at the end the Punisher or no? I'm 100% certain, and I'll tell you why, that it is not the Punisher. If it is, I will be thoroughly surprised. I'll come back on here and say, hey, I was wrong. I think it is designed to make you think that, but I think, one, a vigilante would not kill another vigilante. I think the Punisher, as much as the conversation in season 2 of Daredevil would have had you believe, Frank and Matt, as their alter egos, are definitely at odds with each other. But it's not that Frank or the Punisher has a problem with Daredevil doing what Daredevil does. It's that Daredevil has a problem with the way that Frank does it. They both believe that the police aren't doing enough, that the system is broken, that they need to do something. But Punisher takes it a step further than Daredevil is willing to. And the only reason that Punisher is fighting back against him is to stop him from allowing Frank to complete his mission. In terms of Frank going out of his way to not only kill another vigilante, but to also take the side of the police officers without any justification, without any understanding or investigation on his part, which he would have done, and done in a rather violent manner, makes no sense. In addition, Frank knows Matt. They could interact with each other. He could find a way to get in touch with him. And I think he would have done that, especially when he saw Murdock representing Hector Ayala in the courtroom. So I think there's too many things there that would go against who Frank Castle is and against the Punisher's MO to say that it's the Punisher. I don't think that it's going to keep Fisk and others from politicizing that event and using it as evidence that even the vigilantes don't get along. We got a little bit of a hint of that in episode 3 with how the criminal underworld couldn't really get along with each other, which you kind of already know. But then the cops are perceived as this group of people who are protecting their own and all that kind of stuff, much like Murdock is protecting White Tiger, and all these blurred lines and things like that. I think in the midst of all this chaos, I went in last week. I was at 90%. I was wrong last week on all of my predictions, and some of them were more general than others. I get that, but in terms of what was going on here, I was 6 for 7. The only thing that did not happen here was Muse. I think amidst all the chaos, we get Muse in this episode. I think the darkness and the violence and some of those things are only going to ramp up, and I think adding Muse in here is probably the right way to go. We've gotten through a court case. There's some fallout from what's going on and what happens there. I think episode 4, midway through a 9-episode season, is going to be where you start going down this avenue. You introduce him and you see what's going on behind the scenes, but you don't get, but our heroes don't exactly maybe know who he is. Maybe that's how he gets introduced, or you see some things behind the scene, because I think we've already gotten some hints of that in episode 2 with the gentleman that was signing the book, getting the book signed by Heather at the book reading and the book signing. So I think we're going to see a little more of that, but I think we start seeing him come out in what he's doing, especially in light of some of these things. What triggers him? Has he always been doing it? We're going to get a lot of that in this episode. I think given what happened at the end of episode 3, Matt's going to go on the hunt. I think he's going to go looking for Punisher. I don't see how he doesn't, how he sits there waiting. I think he's going to try to do it in his typical Matt Murdock fashion, and then there's going to be a conversation between him and Frank about how vigilantes should act and why he didn't do what he should have done. I think Frank is going to really sympathize with him to say, your best friend died. Of course you would have tried to kill the bad guy. I think Frank's going to make him feel better about it, but I don't think that's going to sit well with Matt. I think seeing Frank tell him, hey, you did the right thing, is going to be exactly what Matt needs to go, yeah, and that's why I don't, if you think it's okay, I definitely don't need to be doing it. I think because of that and all these other things over here, I think the levels of fallout between vigilantes, people's perception of them, the police force, Wilson Fisk, all these different levels of fallout, the personal battle with Matt, the interactions between Fisk and Vanessa. I think all those things are going to come to a head or start to fester, or the levels of fallout are really going to start taking their toll, and you're going to start seeing people separate into their different areas a little more, because you've had a couple of things happen. Daredevil has disappeared. Fisk took over as mayor. Vanessa is trying to assert herself in the underworld, and Fisk is holding her back. Matt has lost his best friend. He's on the outs with Karen. He's working at a different firm. They just won a big case, but then they're outed a vigilante, but now seemingly another vigilante has killed that vigilante. Matt knows that not to be true. The police are celebrating it, and all of these different levels of fallout are going to isolate people further, and even Fisk's move to ask BB Urich to come in as his basically his personal journalist to get his message out there. I think he likes toying with the fact that this girl, the niece of somebody he killed, is now doing his bidding, so to speak, by getting his message out there because she's a new journalist. I think the fallout from that will come when she decides what to do with that information. I think Fisk hopes she'll just put that out there. You know, oh, the mayor is saying all these things, and here's what he said. But I think her editorial remarks on what the mayor said are really going to get under Fisk's skin, and it's going to be interesting to see the fallout from that. But everybody's going to be taking their positions. The police are going to say that they're glad it happened. Matt is going to be at the middle of this, saying that you know what's right, what's wrong. I don't think you should have done this. What needs to happen, and it's really going to take its toll on everybody. In the midst of this posturing, I think you're going to see a little more of Vanessa Fisk making her money moves. I'm a little less certain of that, and I've kind of given myself a break here. I think you're going to see a lot more behind the scenes and a lot more evidence of this stuff, because this next episode, if any episode had the potential to be a filler episode, it would be this next episode, just kind of getting everybody's reaction to everything that happened. So I think that's a possibility. That's my 30% here, but I really think, or pardon me, that's the 70%. The 30% is that something big happens, and I think that's a possibility we'll talk about at the end. But in the midst of all this posturing, I think we get to see more of Vanessa getting at her wits' end and deciding to do on her own what Fisk is telling her she can't do, but just not telling him. We're going to keep the Empire alive. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then when Fisk needs her, she can do what she does. And will he unleash her, or will she turn everything over and say, this is who you're meant to be? It's going to be very interesting, but I think she's going to keep doing what she's doing. She's already asking about, hey, I can launder money. I can do this. I can do that. And he's not letting her do it. I think she's going to go ahead and start doing some of those things because she's already using his mayoral staff to make some moves without him knowing about it. I think that lends, all of this other stuff lends to this ongoing world building. I don't think we fully established the temperature of everybody's positioning to really just say, okay, we've put all our chess pieces out there, and now we're gonna play chess. I think they're still putting the board together so you can see where everybody is positioned. I think you're getting all these different characters, but you don't know where they lay yet on the board. And I think once they do the rest of the world building, you'll go, oh, okay, this is where it's coming together. That's why some things I can be really certain of, and some things I don't know yet. Which I think is evidence of good writing and of a good story that's going a direction that's going to keep us on our toes. Lots of world building still going on here. I do think in the midst of all this, it's more likely, given the last 3 episodes, that the next episode, episode 4, is going to have more stakes, more turns, and just more of all this. I still think it's building. We got a court procedural that was actually really tense and really engaging, but I think some fighting, some battling, some oh no, this is coming type stuff, I think is ongoing. I think the next episode has the potential, as most Marvel episode 4s tend to do, have another big revelation, another big, oh man, this is coming. I think this show has been designed to build, and you go, this is going to be bad. And then when it finally is bad, it's going to be huge and epic, and we're just going to be blown away by it. I'm going to, next episode, next forecast, I'm going to start reminding us for 5, 6, 7, and 8 to be aware that however big it looks like it's coming, we know we're getting another season, which means there's going to be some kind of massive cliffhanger at the end of this episode that is not going to get resolved in this season. So something that's going on now is just going to be sitting out there. This could be build, and then leave us hanging until season 2 begins. So again, I'm going to keep this the same. Enjoy this ride. Enjoy all the stuff they're giving you, the world building that's going on, all of the tension that's building and mounting, and just enjoy it. There's a lot of name drops and a lot of cool things that are popping up, but I don't think that this show is going to throw a lot of Easter eggs in to do a lot of world building outside of this show. I think they're going to build this world and build this show and these characters, and then they're going to throw them into other places or throw other people into this world rather than, oh, see how it connects to the MCU? We already know it does. They've given you a few of those things. Fisk's, there's a man in a spider costume. Those kind of things, they're like, oh, that's a Spider-Man reference. But they're not really making a Spider-Man reference. They're just saying something that you know, and then letting it sit rather than being really heavy-handed and saying names and putting locations out there. And it's going to be posters. It's going to be street names. It's going to be things you recognize from the Netflix series and from the movies that are just part of the world and not things that are thrown in to get you thinking and get you moving. Oh, well, this connects with that. None of that. A perfect example of that would be all the people that think that the MCU dropped Miles Morales' dad's name in the courtroom scene by saying Officer Morales. They did not do that because Miles Morales' dad's name is Jefferson Davis, and it is not Morales. He takes his name from his mother and not from his dad, so that's not who that is. You just heard the name Morales and you freaked out. They're not going to do that. It's going to be world building and not fan service. Why? Because the fan service is already getting Daredevil on the big screen again. The fan service is these characters moving from Netflix firmly to Disney Plus, so you know they're part of the MCU, so you know this is all canon, and they're just telling a great story. Loki is a perfect example. There's some things that connect, but it's its own amazing world. So season 2 of Loki, with all the TVA references and all the things that they did, was more about just telling an amazing story than it was about throwing all these connections in and making sure that it was securely tied. You already knew that. So they're just telling a good story, which I think should please a lot of fans and newcomers to the series. Is just Marvel's telling a really good story because, surprise, surprise, they can tell good stories. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. I'm curious what you think about the story so far. I'm curious what you think about the characters, the grittiness, the directions that they're going. I think there's still a lot of people out there that are kind of on the fence to see, does it live up? And I think some people will wait until the last episode or two to say, oh, this is amazing. And then if the finale doesn't plan out, then they'll be upset about it. Curious about all those things, put your comments down below, like and subscribe to the channel, hit all the buttons, do all the things, and then check out some of our other videos. You know, we got a lot of things you can sink your teeth into. And as always, guys, when the next one drops, we'll catch you right back here. Later.